friends, this is Jock here from the Pillars of Grief. And this is not, as you know, I'm not going to go straight into a little snippet and then into the main conversation. I'm just going to jump right into it because this is an invitation. It's an invitation to you guys who are listening out there to join me in some an up-and-coming series, regular up-and-coming series that's going to happen every kind of 2 weeks. And the reason I'm doing this is because of the amount of questions that I have had, okay? And if you wait until the end of this, there will be another invitation for you to come and join me privately to steer this from your own thoughts and your own questions. So in my life of, working as a medium has been over 2 decades. In my spiritual development has been more like, wow, I mean, I'm 54 now, so it's been a lot of years since my young formative years, spending time in the monastery with monks and priests and people on retreat. And my uncle was a monk. And so I've always had that kind of spiritual ground. And I've always had big questions about the universe. I've always had big questions about other things, mysterious things. And my experiences led me to go head to head sometimes with religion, where I would be getting warned off, or I would be getting told off for what I was doing, and my experiences weren't supposed to be the experiences that a young boy should have. But then I find my questions later in life never changed. I wanted to know what psychic ability was all about. I wanted to know when these things were labeled later on in life. I wanted to know, what's the other side that was like when people were dying in my family, when friends were dying, and then when I grew up and lost friends from the military and people that were close to me, and from all the losses that I've had these same existential crisis, or these existential questions about the reality of existence and the reality of the afterlife. And I have these questions that get sent to me on a regular basis. People who watch my YouTube videos that then connect with me in my community or my group, who then maybe connect with me on Instagram and send me a message, or connect with me from something if I've been a guest on another show, they've connected with me and they've asked me questions, or they've just sent me an email. They've joined my newsletter, which I very rarely actually ever send out, and it's something I really got to do, and that's maybe something I'll talk about in the end. I understand the burden of grief. I understand what you go through. I have been intimately acquainted with grief all of my life. And so if you need support, then obviously you can go beyond this channel and you can join my free community. And in that community, you can find more support and you can engage with me direct. So click the link below if you would like to get access to my free community, Pillars of Grief, and I'll see you over there. God bless. They've always asked me questions about, is the afterlife real? What is the afterlife like? What happens when we die? Can I eat in the afterlife? My wife always laughs. We laugh together because she loves. There's a place in South Wales that we used to, when we were serving churches or anything in Wales, we would then go to a place called Verdi's, and if Verdi's is listening to this podcast or at all, then big shout out to everybody in Verdi's in Swansea, South Wales, because that's a place that me and Joanne used to go all the time. We'd finish maybe in the church in the evening where we'd be taking a divine service, or we'd be serving when we were visiting from Scotland, and then we'd go straight down to Verdi's, and Verdi's became very much a community place that family would go to, and it's a phenomenal place. And so the other thing is, because we loved it so much, or my wife loved it so much, she would always say, when we cross over to the other side, I'm going to go to the etheric Verdi's, because she would she wanted to still have her coffee on the other side, and she wanted to still have her Reddy's ice cream, or Tartufo, although I don't think they do that anymore. So and that brings a certain level of comfort, when you can imagine, wow, what might it be like when that's it? Can I actually do that? And so I've been very lucky where, the many thousands of readings I've done for people over the years, I've been lucky to be party to information from the other side that has kind of qualified and given evidence of what the other side's like. And I've done various amount of research into life on the other side, and from ancient transcriptions from way back in the days in the 1800s, and from various other different sources, and primarily also from my own experiences, and also the experiences of when I'm actually sitting counseling someone, whether it be mediumship or in any other way, these insights that come through and the evidence that comes through from the other side of life, telling us what it's like, and experiences I've had with which a lot of you probably don't actually realize, that I had a near-death experience in a car accident. Both my wife and I, we had a terrible car accident in the north of Scotland where we should have passed and crossed over because it was a really serious one. But and our car was totally wiped off. It was the big. I mean, I should go into a story about that at some other time. It was actually reported in a magazine article, in a spiritual magazine many years ago, just after it. I can't remember how it came about that way, but suffice to say, as you can see, where if you're hearing me, then I'm still here. I'm not coming from the beyond, and obviously you can see it. So we survived that, but I had a near-death experience through that time, and that gave me insight into the other side. But there's obviously as well a negative aspect of it, because you try to kind of, like I've said this to many of my colleague researchers, you try to hold on to that all the time. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to cover some of the greatest questions that exist on the reality of the afterlife and what it's like. But I'm not just going to go into just simple questions like, do we exist, that kind of thing. I'm going to go into really even more deeper philosophical questions, even spiritual questions based on the karma, everything that I've learned through my connection with the other side, and through my readings, when it's come through, when I've actually sat with clients and evidence has come through that has been corroborated in some way for that individual. And so what I want to do is to share these insights that I've had over the many years of me developing and also working professionally. Hi there. Would you like to work with me one-to-one as your private mentor on your grief journey? You can actually do that, and you can work with me for 3 months, for 6 months, or for 12 months. There's a lot involved in this mentoring package, in this grief journey that we will go on together. So if you're interested in working with me privately, whether you're suffering through grief or spiritual crisis, or you need help with your spiritual development, then please click the link below and we'll have a conversation. God bless. And researching, and the amount of research that I've done and continue to do. Because I see that I still get the same questions. I still get people contacting me every week asking me these questions, and especially when it comes to things like suicide and what happens when someone commits suicide, and so many loved ones, and there's so much ignorance around that subject matter. There's so much negativity based on dogma, and I have many people that come to me that are suffering through that loss, and their upbringing or their religious beliefs which get challenged. So it's kind of, when they have an experience, they kind of go into what's called an ontological shock. So their whole ontology, the changes, the nature of reality changes, and it kind of throws them off like a spiritual crisis. So I have people that come at me that ask me loads of these questions all the time. And so I think it's time now that I brought this into the Pillars of Grief. So there's going to be lots of questions answered every 2 weeks. I'm not going to say every week because I don't want to promise it every week. If I can do every week, I will. But every 2 weeks, I'm going to answer a question. Now, this is your invitation because I would love you to join me and send me in the questions. And if you're grieving and you're suffering through loss, you can join my private community. There'll be a link somewhere where you can come and join the private community and ask me questions directly in there, or list your questions in there. Or alternatively, you can connect with me on Instagram. You can connect with me if you're watching this on YouTube. Then obviously you can find out my website and you can connect with me that way and answer these questions. I'm also going to put a little survey form up on my website, jockbrocas.com, where you can ask the questions on this series. And I'm then going to answer these questions as much as I possibly can, with as much information as I can, based on my experiences, based on my knowledge and my research over the years, so that it helps you to make an informed decision. I don't want you to come to it and think, well, he's right and he's only right, and that's it. No, you make an informed decision. I've got a lot of experience, and I want to kind of share it with you. And so, and there, I have got already listed probably well over 100 odd questions. I'm not going to, because it would take maybe actually probably even more. It's going to be broken down into sections. Now, there will be some of these will probably go into a little mini course or something that I'll have within my community, where people can come and go more in depth into that. But for the most part, a lot of these questions I'm going to answer in each section, in the philosophical section, the spiritual section, afterlife, a self, section about the self. I'm going to go through all of these things and answer these questions. And there may be questions that you have that I haven't covered. Now, even if I haven't covered it in my community, then there's a chance that you may have a deep burning question that's not covered, and maybe it's a combination of different things that you want to know. So you can ask, and then I will answer it, and I'm going to answer it on the Pillars of Grief podcast, on audio and obviously on video, so that you can see and you can hear, and you can get involved and you can get engaged with me. So that's what I wanted to jump on today to announce. Not a discussion about anything else, or or any interviews. I may even bring in some guests and we'll have a conversation around this. I'm also going to share some of the private. No, I'm not going to share private settings because I won't do that. But I'm going to share the essence of what was learned and how the evidence came around, so that you can learn that for yourselves and you can make a judgment. So if you've got questions on the afterlife, even if it's a question you think is stupid, then please connect with me and ask me those questions. You'll be able to go to my site and send that in as well. Or alternatively, wait and see if I cover them, or go into my community and do that. That's my invitation. If you want to come and join my private community, then you can do that. That's where you can get access to me even more, and you can ask those questions and I can bring them out. I have got so many of them, so much, and I know that there's even more. There's a lot more. And even if you want to ask a question that's based on my book, Deadly Departed, about the dangers of the afterlife, and because let's face it, ladies and gentlemen, you can't just think everything in the garden's rosy. It's not all flowers and rainbows. We only know good because evil exists, and we know that evil's there because we have an understanding of opposites. And it's foolhardy to think that everything when you cross over is safe. And I'm probably not well like that, but there is that potential. So if you really want to learn about it and you really want to ask the questions that nobody's going to share with you, then do it. I'm not going to hold back. I'm going to share with you. So hopefully that'll give you some great insight. So I'm excited about this because this series is, as well as other episodes and other things I'm going to be doing, this series is going to run for probably the next 6 months to a year. That's how much information I've got and how many questions I've already been asked that people are waiting for answers to. So hopefully come and join me starting from next week, or maybe even this week. I'll bring the first question out. And then every 2 weeks, I'm going to answer. I promise every 2 weeks, I'm going to bring out one of these answers. I'm going to answer them. If I can bring it out every week, I'm not promising, but I will, to keep the momentum going, keep these questions coming in. Guys, thank you for joining me today on Pillars of Grief. I'm excited about this new edition that is coming up. And also, there's going to be an episode coming up where is about my up and coming research, and I want you to join me there. So if you're a person who has dabbled in psychedelics and has dabbled with that because of your grief, then I want to connect with you. Wait until my next episode comes up. And also, hopefully, I'll be having a chat with my colleague, Dr. Pascal Michael, where we will dive into this a little bit more, and you can join us for some research. So, God bless, ladies and gentlemen. I really look forward to this new series, and I hope that you do. God bless. Hi, thank you for joining me here today. Make sure that you subscribe to the podcast if you are interested in anything that I have to teach, if you want to learn more. Make sure you ask questions below in the comments, and I'll make sure to answer them. Come back regularly because I teach many different subjects to do with grief, spiritual development, and spiritual crisis. So make sure subscribe below, and I'll see you in the next one.